which was at the beginning of March in Sturbridge. And essentially, a free agent learner is self-directed and creates and shares their knowledge. Debbie Froggatt, who is one of our presenters, she is the director of the Boston Arts Academy in Fenway High School Library. And I had to ask, those are actually two high schools that share a building and a library. So it really is two high schools. She's also does the Boston Symphony Orchestra Education Resource Center, which I thought was interesting. I didn't realize that such a thing existed. And that serves two pilot schools, and it also serves teachers across the state. She is an adjunct professor here at Simmons. She teaches reference classes, and she's also an advisor and practica advisors to students, right?
I'm sorry, I was looking to see if anybody was in my class.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't paying attention to what you said.
She is the treasurer and vice president of the Northeast Massachusetts.
Well, I was.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, so that's gone. And you're on the Massachusetts Library System Executive Board.
And I was.
You were, okay, so that was passed. And I just met Debbie, and I asked her, why she became a librarian or why she liked being a librarian. And she said that it was because that she is surrounded by stories during the day. And that students actually come in and they tell her stories. And she said she likes that. She said that librarians seem to learn a lot about people, but the students don't know a lot about us. So it was sort of like a little mystery there. I thought that was very interesting. Allegra Deborah is also going to be presenting. I did pronounce your last name right?
Close enough.
Close enough. And Allegra is going to graduate this May. She is currently doing her practica with Debbie. And she volunteered at the Boston Arts Academy and Fenway High School before starting her high school practica. I believe this is a hint. Volunteering in this school would be good before you actually apply. And it gives you a good idea of what the school's like. She is also our social media coordinator at MSLA-SIG, and the reason I'm repeating that is if you need help with any of the apps, like your Gmail app on your phone, she is very, very helpful. She's the social media secretary and secretary for the Progressive Librarian Guild here at Simmons. And she just finished this presentation. This was her first professional conference presentation at the beginning of March. And the thing that was in the bio at on the thing was, it said sci-fi convention world, and I just had to ask about that. And I asked her what she did, and she used to do lightsaber stage combat. So if you're looking for a new program for your library, if you want to enhance the virtual world, give Allegra a call. So thank you very much, and welcome.
Can you all hear me? Because my daughter says I'm really loud.
We would like to be recorded.
Oh. Okay. I don't have any place to put this. I'll just stand here, I guess. Okay. So good morning. Free agent learning, as Melissa just said, is a student that's self-directed. Free agent learner creates and shares knowledge. And free agent learning is untethered learning. This morning, briefly, I'm going to talk about why we do this with our urban students. Allegra is going to show the how, and then I'll close with a little bit of management because we have 20 iPads in our school library. So last fall, I decided that we would lose the battle. I was tired of fighting this fight. What do you think the battle was? What was it?
Filtering.
No, we're still losing that battle. Boston Public Schools is too big. Teachers would be on eBay, so yeah. What do you think it is? We lost the battle. If I had a nickel for every time I said, put your
Devices.
phone away, I'd be a rich lady. And we started allowing, I just didn't do it anymore. And that last fall, we also started with 10 iPads. And what we found is that students use their phones and are really excited about learning how to use their phones for research and for learning. I based the idea of free agent learning, I actually found the term probably about, I don't know, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and it came from business. But in more recent times, a gentleman named David Nabel wrote it. It's online in the THE Journal. It's an online tech journal, and it's free agent learning. And he talks about how students have to power down when they get to school. And they're learning, they're still learning in sort of a more lecture model kind of situation, whereas in the library, we collaborate with teachers and we try to have the students become active learners. And now we're using free agent learning, or this creating and sharing knowledge. The other component about free agent learning that we're transitioning with the iPads is that free agent learning is untethered. I'm looking at many of you, probably some of you grew up with computer labs, you know, when you're, and computers, a bank of computers against a wall, correct, in high school. And now students can take their iPad and move around the library and get books and sit around tables and talk and collaborate. Computer labs just don't foster that sort of collaborative learning. So that free agent learning. Our students, and a lot of us, we kind of overshare a little bit online, right? They're on Facebook and Twitter and Pinterest, and I recently read an article in Vanity Fair. It was by James Wolcott, who's a culture critic. It was in the February issue. And he talks about the quantifiable self movement. Any of you heard of the quantifiable self movement? It's people who just report everything they do 24/7. And there's sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing. There was a description, there are people who overshare, and overshare too much. There are those that don't share at all but should, and then there are the rest of us. And so I'm hoping, or we hope, that we harness the students oversharing, because it's all about them, right? And take this energy so that they can do something with this energy rather than just overshare, to learn, have new understandings and share their learning in that fashion and get involved. We hope that we can guide them to make connections from their personal agendas towards contributing to a global community. And it's really important that, you know, they're texting one another all day and so on, but hopefully we can take some of this energy, as I said, and turn it around so that they can become active participants and in their learning, and then also getting involved in something beyond themselves, which the sharing allows students to do. A couple of just thoughts about the digital divide, because we do serve an urban population, probably, I'm going to guess about at least 60% or so are on free and reduced lunch. And many of the students do not have access to application technology, so using the iPads is really providing them with an opportunity to learn how to use these resources so that when they are confronted, they have an understanding of the language and that kind of thing. Bill Clinton had an article in the October 1st issue of Time, and it was the case for optimism. And he talked about 5 ways the world is getting better, and number 1 was technology. He described how phones mean freedom to so many people, and maybe you've read about this. He described how Haitians, after the earthquake, were able to do their banking because they had a phone, for instance. And we can think back to Arab Spring last year and how just that kind of technology allowed big changes. And so phones mean freedom. So for our students to have access and to learn how to use this technology is really important. We're really trying, it's really kind of cool, and Allegra will smile at this too, to have a student, like, the light bulbs go off. Oh, I can do this on my phone. You know, they don't really recognize that their phone is a computer, and that they can do their research and create and share on their phones. So I'm going to turn it over to Allegra. She's really going to show the the nitty gritty. And I also want to, before I do that, thank Allegra because she has been the guiding light with this whole technology. I just sometimes don't have the time, and she figures it out really fast, so I'm really grateful.
So before I really get started, we have 3 extra iPads if anyone wants to take a look at the student side of the Nearpod app.
Anybody?
So that's what I'm going to
Right
be
here.
running this through.
You can maybe share.
You guys can share. You should be on the Wi-Fi already. So if Nearpod isn't open, just go ahead and open it. It should be under Classroom Apps. Nearpod is something that I recently discovered. It's a great way for us to get instant feedback of our students. You can create polls, you also do different things on it. You can direct them to different websites as well. So I found that our students do need to develop their tech skills. For most of our students, they're digital natives. They know a bit of what they're doing, they've grown up with it. But for some of our kids, this is the first time they've had something like an iPad in their hands, the first time they've had a touch screen in their hands. So our first step in Nearpod is to put in your name or an alias. And if this was my students, they can put in their student IDs as well. And this is the teacher side of it. So this is how you can see if your kids are paying attention. If that's really important, if they're actually paying attention. So if whoever is sharing the iPad app, just put in your name. That way you can at least run through with one person. I don't have to, but
We need to enter a PIN.
It says,
yeah, is there a PIN?
it says teacher login and then student.
Oh, I'm sorry. The PIN number is at FFLLB on the top corner. Each time you run, this app will come up with an independent code for the room. And then you can see the screens that it's pushing to you. The kids, the high school kids are finally like, are we getting graded on this? It's okay, you won't be graded. One of the things I will show you is a quiz that they did, and they were panicked. They were going to be graded on it. It's okay. Don't worry about it. So see, now you can see there are 4 people in the room. And now there's 6. Okay. Awesome. So we can move from here since we have a few people. And now I'll show you my poll. So it's, do you currently use mobile tech in your library? You can answer yes, no. You can not answer, it's fine. I wanted to see that instant feedback. And so on the teacher side, you can see all this. And this is this instant feedback that you could get any question you ask your kids.
Do you usually do it with a screen so everybody can see what everyone's doing, or do you?
What I've done so far is I've just shown them my iPad, but that was before we bought the dongle connector. So now we can. We don't have to, but we can. It depends if we want to keep it private or not. This is our library website once it loads on your iPads. It's baafhslib.org for those who aren't on the app. And you can see on the app that we have recently added new research tools. One of them includes social media and how to use it in research. So when you have a few minutes afterwards, feel free to take a look at that. But now you can see how I can push different websites. I can, force the kids to look at this one thing, and it's still safe within the app. This is the citation quiz, which you will see on the iPads of how do you cite certain things. This is a quiz I originally set up via Socrative, which is another app, and it was a science class, 11th grade bio. This is the one they were panicked about getting graded on. A lot of it was things like, if a book doesn't have an author, what do you do? And they didn't know to put the editor. What sort of citation do we use? They knew it was MLA. They didn't know what MLA stood for. So it's these random little things that come up that they might know, they might not. And it's kind of cool to find out what they know. And I'm watching Liz get really excited over there. But so this is our instant feedback. And right or wrong, at least we can see how they're doing and what they know. And we don't often get instant feedback.
Is this, they're doing it like, okay, you come in for your biology class, and everyone's doing this at the same time, or is it throughout the class you want them to do it while you're doing other things? Like,
It's
is it
everyone doing it at the same time.
same time? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
This was a class that was doing a research project, and they were almost at the end of it, and they were about to turn in their final paper, and I wanted to make sure that they had their citations done. Most of them didn't at the time, but they got it.
Is this a pay app or a free app?
There is a free version. I got the gold version for a month because it has some features like the website freedom that you don't have with the free app. But the free app is pretty fun. I'm on the free app now, actually. Scroll it. So this is what I came up with for the AASL learning standards, that the citation quiz can help our kids respect copyright. And it also pulls, having quizzes like this in general, pulls from the background knowledge and they use it as new context.
This is a question.
Yes.
If say, for example, you didn't have iPads per student,
Right.
but you wanted to have them floating so you get this data, could they be logging in and out of it? Like, could you do the same quiz, log out, and have someone else's name come up?
Yes.
Okay, so that would be possible?
It can be done, yeah.
And then also what it's doing is, with this new model of assessing everything, is you have the data right there, and it's not something you have to aggregate yourself, it's automatically done.
It's right there. And at
Can
the
you
end of this,
download it and save it in different?
It will send an email at the end if you ask for it. Same with Socrative, where I originally set it up. Email and an Excel spreadsheet right away, which is great. This is versus poetry. It's exactly like magnetic poetry except drag and drop. This was a humanities 9th grade class. They came in, they took the iPads, they made poetry. And you can do screen caps and email it to yourself. So they can hang on to and keep it.
Now, this was one that this was one of a 3 or 4 lesson unit. So besides just creating fun poetry with that, they used anthologies and learned how to use tables of contents and indexes and that kind of thing too. So it's nice that you can intermix the tech with sort of the more practical information literacy skills that they need. Sorry.
That's fine. No, and we found out that the version of poetry, again, I pull everything from AASL standards, but it did use that creative and artistic to help express their personal learning. And they were able to use, media and tech to create these new products. This one was fun. This is interesting. This is every first Monday at Boston Arts Academy. Kids come in during their advisory period, and they do Speak. Speak is open poetry, open short stories. I had a student share a song this past Monday, and so this girl brought in her phone, read from her phone, and it was her own creation. She didn't want to stand up in front of the class, that's fine. But she was able to, she probably wrote this on the bus on her way to school that morning because she wanted to participate and speak. I had a student on this past first Monday brought in his iPod and shared a song. So having this, allowing this personal technology allows our kids to participate even more. So again, participate in social exchange of ideas. They could even email these to each other. I had read a poem and I printed it, and this boy asked for me to share it. So I could have emailed it to him. And also, by having Speak, it demonstrates his leadership. They can present their ideas to each other. And everyone is respected, everyone applauds, no matter what. This class was a theater class, 10th graders. And what they had to do was, in the short period of time, about a half an hour, they had to go online using the computers or the iPads, or using our books in reference, and find information on theater. They were studying Shakespeare, they were studying different ways of acting. And what this group did, this one girl found actors speaking about what it's like to be an actor. She was able to show it to her classmates. This is something that she would not be able to express herself, but she was showing famous actors talking about being an actor.
Just a little bit about the assignment. It was sort of a down and dirty, ready reference kind of thing for the kids to learn where these theater resources were. And the teacher is such a good sport. She made it into a competition between groups. And they were assessed, I guess you would say, by the more different types of sources and different formats of sources they had, the more points they got. And then they also had to present their learning at the end. It was really busy, active, fun time.
Yeah. And now that we have the connector, she could have projected that when we have speakers.
Yes, I mean, we didn't have the download.
But this, use technology to analyze and organize information, and also use it to display knowledge that others can view. Again, tech is fantastic for this. This was our seniors, and they're learning how to do interviews. They were two groups of students across the library from each other, and they did Skype interviews across the library. And this was their mock interviews. This is how they practice interviews for jobs.
What's the benefit of having them use the iPads for that versus sitting across from each other?
If they were ever interviewed using Skype,
Okay.
just to have that experience.
Yeah.
This is a part of a senior ventures program that it's a whole career counseling, guidance, going to college kind of course that they take. And they do, right now these kids are on 6-week internships across the city. And they work 9 to 3. And I don't know if any of them actually have Skype interview to participate in these internships, but it was to just have them have that experience.
Right.
That will happen more and more.
I think one student's in New York, so he probably did have an online interview of some sort.
Yeah.
And you can always Skype with professionals too, using this device, so you could, like, in this case, they were practicing with each other, but maybe the next time they would do a mock
Right.
with someone who
With
was
a
a
community
professional
mentor or
and could
something.
potentially interview them.
I mean, it's even an important skill for us to have. I know that for one of my classes, it was an online class, I had classmates in Vancouver. And we used Skype, we used Google Hangout. Having this type of skill is important in our world today. So our standard is connect understanding to the real world. But also they can help practice that ethical and safe behavior for electronic communication. They don't want to overshare, even on a person-to-person Skype interview. This should come up as one of the prezzies for those of you who are on our iPads who are using Nearpod. It's a quick Prezi app that one of our students did for a body of the class, 11th graders. If you do go into the Prezi, you're going to have to come back into the Nearpod. You're going to lose the connection, sadly. It's one flaw I've found so far. But Prezi is something similar to PowerPoint for those who haven't seen it, except you have one slide, and it zooms into parts of it, and zooms back out. You create a map of how you want it to go. And so this was, again, one of our science students who did food poisoning.
And if you look at the citations, because we were really happy.
Oh yeah, they were fantastic. They were Gale citations.
We really try and encourage the teachers to put on their rubric for the students when they're graded a citation component that may be 5% of the grade or whatever. And this student used a database, I forget it, at least a couple of databases.
It was an encyclopedia and a database.
Something from the Gale Virtual Reference Library, which we call ebooks. I mean, that's because we don't really have the Kindle books right now. And we picked one of the better presentations, which demonstrated the use of a range of sources, so we're happy about that.
Yeah. One of the things we always try to do is we push the ebooks and the databases because we know that they're good sources. Our kids are still figuring out you can't cite wiki, you can't cite something. You shouldn't cite wiki. I actually showed them recently how to cite Twitter because we had kids learning about the Arab Spring and they were learning about how that information was spread. There is a proper way to cite Twitter, because I will show them that. But again,